But when you look at the Republican Party, a lot of them are just there to get rich as the world burns down around them. I think they've given up on saving the country. And a lot of them are just there like, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to make sure my family's set as everybody else burns. Today, an extremely special guest. This man, he's fabulous. He's running for Congress in the 3rd District of Texas. His name is Burt Thakur. He is one of the greatest candidates that I've come across this cycle. He's really got what it takes, and his grasp on the issues, you're not going to find somebody with more. The guy really gets it. How are you today, Burt?
I'm doing really well. And Mr. Mannarino, emphasis on the Mr. because, what you have been doing takes quite a bit of guts to be able to speak your truth, especially in this day and age, to be somebody who's fighting for the average person, to be somebody who's fighting against the uniparty, the globalist agenda. I mean, let's call it for what it is. If it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's going to be a duck. And I'm sure a lot of the people who are tuning in are frustrated with the current state of affairs. When I say I'm a conservative Republican, let's break those two words down. And if I'm not coming across as a politician, well, it's because I work in construction. Okay. So basically, conservative means you should be trying to stop more laws from being introduced. You should be reducing the size of government, not increasing it. Okay. And Republican, well, anytime we get lost, we should go back to the original mission statement. Our party was founded in 1854 by the likes of Abraham Lincoln, Horace Greeley, people who fought slavery. They were abolitionists. And right now, what are we seeing? People our age and younger who can't even afford the American dream. A house is 500 grand. Okay, good luck making 171K in this economy. You have politicians who are caring more about their reelection campaigns than they are. I call it, in a good paying job, think about it this way. You make $1,000 a week. By the time you're done paying your taxes, right? Yep. It's $700. That's $2,800 a month. The average cost of rent in the United States is $1,300. So now you're down basically to what, $1,200 left by the time you get done paying your car payment, your cell phone bill, your insurance. Now you're under $1,000. You get done paying your health care. Now you're, I don't know, $800. And now you factor in the cost of groceries. Look, I go to HEB, which is our local grocery store here. I spend $200. My card is a third of the way full. Sometimes it feels like you got to take out a second mortgage just to fill up your gas tank. Yeah. So what do you do with at the end of the month? Less than $500, $400 if you are budgeting correctly.
If you're really lucky.
If you're really lucky, man. And this isn't anymore one of these Republican, Democrat, left, right issue. This is purely an American issue. And if you can hear the passion in my voice, and you and I have had a conversation before about this, I am beyond frustrated that the average American has to play second fiddle to places like the Ukraine, where more funding is given. Let me give you an example. $10,000 a month to house illegal immigrants in New York City. Okay. Now, whoa. How many people do you know that even have a mortgage for $10,000 a month?
They're living in luxury, beautiful hotels, the best of the best. I mean, I'm familiar with New York City. I'm sure you've been there too. I know these hotels that they're talking about. They're staying in the Row on Times Square. A room in the Row used to be $228, $229, and that was like 5-6 years ago. These are $400 a night hotel rooms, and these guys are kicked back, relaxing, living in absolute luxury. They shouldn't even be in the country. They don't even belong here. They didn't come legally.
It baffles my mind when you have homeless veterans who are kicked out of hotels.
Yeah.
So legal immigrants can stay in. And look, we're going to sit here and the public can disagree all they want. Oh, how could you? Look, it's done by design. I put this tweet out the other day about the Declaration of North America. Not a single member of Congress is talking about this. Yes. And it infuriates me that, when people are up in arms about the border, and Joey, you've seen my tweets, you see how I've been to the border. I've driven from San Diego to San Pedro Island and up north from Vancouver to parts of North Dakota. I mean, like, I've been there. I've been there. And so when I have sheriffs begging me, they're like, hey, we have 3 active cartels, like in Imperial County, 3 active cartels functioning here in the United States. When kids are dying from fentanyl 10 miles from where I live in Carrollton, and you have homes which are literally stuffed with hundreds of millions of dollars in cash. I didn't even, I couldn't even fathom how these people are able to finance their operation, right? I mean, ultimately it's a business.
Yeah.
are begging for things like cash logs. They're begging, like they're saying, when ICE and Border Patrol is saying we're being overwhelmed by the number of people who are just crossing the border. You have the optics on the one hand, people, let's just throw a name out, AOC crying next to a fence, like, right in a parking lot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have people arguably crossing one of the most dangerous areas, the Sonoran Desert, 10,000. You're like, where is this coming from? Declaration of North America, signed January 28th of this year between Biden, Trudeau, and Manuel Luis Obrador, which reaffirmed the Los Angeles Declaration from last year, which basically stated that because of a climate emergency, migrants should be allowed to move freely throughout North America to seek work. So on the one hand, you have these people wringing their hands up saying, well, I'm tough, I'm a conservative, I'm this, I'm that. You have the left on the other hand saying, well, how could you do it? It's a human issue and blah, blah, blah. And in the meantime, you have the White House with Grandpa Joe just walking around like he's a Roomba whenever he finishes a speech, right? And I'll quote Shane Gillis on that, right? Walking around like that, but meanwhile, it's all done by design. And
Yeah.
so when you have Homeland Security, you have the State Department, which is ultimately in charge of processing visas and deciding who gets their citizenship and who doesn't, operating under the behest of the executive. And you have a Congress, which is just making it about a single, what I consider a uniparty issue, which is border funding, when the reality is this is a State Department issue. This is done by design. This is Congress not performing checks and balances. And who's suffering? The American public. And what's
Yes.
happening? Neighbor is being turned against neighbor because these ghouls, these political ghouls, realize it's easier to win an election if you turn neighbor against neighbor instead of discriminating policy positions between people who are running for office. And that's why primaries, I believe, are so fundamentally important.
Oh, Bert, I mean, you're speaking my
Important.
language on the primary stuff because what we saw, I mean, we were just talking about it before. Yesterday, 110 of our Republican fighters voted for Tom Emmer to be the speaker. Now, I mean, Tom Emmer, whatever you want to say about the guy, he supported the national popular vote. He has voted for debt ceiling after debt ceiling. He's voted for omnibus after omnibus. They all go in and they say, we're going to change Washington. After 4 or 5 terms, they are Washington. They become everything that they claim they were there to fight against. And, that's why I was saying before, oh, yeah, we're having our kumbaya moment right now. Everybody's so happy that, Mr. Mike Johnson, who's excellent, is now the speaker. I'm grateful that this happened. I'm very happy that this happened. But we can't forget, just yesterday, 110 voted for Emmer. Just last night, 44 voted for McCarthy. This was less than 24 hours ago. So what we have in Congress is not just a problem of incompetence. They're not incompetent. They're very competent. They're competent at screwing us. They are a party that we count on because you can't count on the Democrats. These are crazy people. But when you look at the Republican Party, a lot of them are just there to get rich as the world burns down around them. I think they've given up on saving the country. And a lot of them are just there like, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to make sure my family's set as everybody else burns. When you're in that seat in Congress, 435 people get that privilege, that honor to be in Congress. And if you don't take that chance to save the country that you claim to represent, what are you even doing?